All right, welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Our goal, right out of the gate, is simple, but honestly, it's pretty powerful. We are going to completely shatter the illusion that artificial intelligence is just this perfectly objective magical black box. You know, we tend to view tech as totally impartial, right? Like it's just pure math operating in a vacuum. But today, we're diving into some incredible insights to explore how the literal underlying design of an AI system actually dictates whether or not we should trust it. We're looking at the very blueprint of modern tech. We're diving deep into a concept known as the architecture of accountability.
Section 1. The Mirror of AI, Inheriting Human Assumptions.
Okay, let's dive into this by peeling back that shiny surface layer of AI outputs to reveal the actual human beings standing right underneath. I want you to pause for just a second and really let the gravity of this idea sink in. AI inherits the assumptions of the people who built it. This fundamentally changes how we have to interact with technology. Every single AI system you use, it's not some neutral floating tool that magically calculates the absolute truth of the universe. Actually, scratch that. It's way more like a mirror. It actively reflects the beliefs, the priorities, and the specific historical perspectives of the developers who wrote its code. Think about a resume filtering algorithm, for example. If the humans who built it, or the historical data they fed it, favored certain backgrounds over others, well, the algorithm isn't suddenly going to be perfectly objective, right? It just codifies that human history. The humans behind the keyboard are literally passing their worldview directly into the machine, and we just consume it like it's absolute truth.
Moving on to Section 2, Speed, Fairness, or Accountability, the triad of priorities.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how those hidden human assumptions manifest out there in the real world. You see it through the very specific design priorities chosen by the developers. It's a clear cause and effect setup. If a developer's priority is speed, which, let's be real, is super common in the tech industry's whole move fast and break things culture, the output is an AI that inevitably cuts corners. It just grabs whatever data is closest and cheapest, rushing to the finish line just to beat competitors to market. Now, if the developer values fairness above all else, the AI will actively surface bias in its own outputs, kind of constantly checking its own math. But here's the kicker. The most crucial outcome happens when you build for accountability. A system built for accountability produces decisions that can be examined, contested, and actually improved upon. It's a striking contrast, isn't it? A system built for speed hides its flaws behind a sleek interface just to keep moving fast, whereas one built for accountability actively invites that necessary and sometimes really messy examination required to actually get better over time.
Let's shift to Section 3, Anatomy of Design Choices, what the process reveals.
Let's move a layer deeper into the mechanics here and look at what the nitty-gritty everyday choices of the AI design process actually expose. For instance, what counts as evidence? I really want you to ask yourself this rhetorically as you think about the platforms you use, defining truth or evidence for a machine. It's not some mathematical certainty. It is entirely a subjective human decision. If an AI is built to figure out creditworthiness for a loan, what's valid evidence? Is it strictly tax returns? Does it factor in your zip code? Does it scan your social media history? A human being had to sit down and explicitly tell the AI exactly what information is considered hard proof and what should just be tossed out as noise. One developer's valid data is literally another developer's flawed logic.
And that leads us right into a really vital follow-up. Where does the margin for error get set? Deciding what is close enough or what counts as an acceptable level of risk is just another hidden human assumption that gets permanently baked into the code. The AI doesn't just know what an acceptable mistake is until a human developer decides the threshold for it. Just think about the massive difference in stakes here. If you're building a movie recommendation AI, hey, a 20% margin of error is perfectly fine. The worst thing that happens is you waste 2 hours on a terrible sci-fi film. But if you're building a medical diagnostic AI looking for cancer markers, a tiny fraction of a percent in your error margin can literally mean the difference between life and death. The machine doesn't set those stakes, humans do.
So, when we sum up these hidden layers, we see that every single design choice, from how the system resolves conflicts between opposing data points, to how it strictly defines what counts as evidence, right down to how it sets those critical margins for error, reveals something incredibly profound. These aren't just minor technical details we can gloss over. These choices form the actual unignorable blueprint of the AI. They're deeply human assumptions entirely translated into machine logic, just running silently in the background of our lives.
Which brings us to Section 4, Building Accountable Architecture, the Codata solution.
Okay, now that we understand the massive problem with these hidden blueprints, let's look at the fix. We're going to check out a tangible methodology for correcting these deeply ingrained design flaws. The foundational premise from the developers at Codata is simple, but honestly, it's profound. AI should be able to withstand scrutiny. I really want to emphasize just how absolutely crucial this is. If an artificial intelligence is making decisions that impact our personal lives, our finances, or even our daily information diets, it absolutely must be robust enough to be thoroughly investigated. It just cannot crumble or offer zero explanation the second we start asking why or how it came to a specific conclusion. No way.
And this leads us right to the core definition for this entire explainer. What exactly is an architecture of accountability? Well, it's a system where accountability is embedded in the architecture itself, rather than added as a policy after the fact. Think about the old way of doing things, slapping reactive, weak warning labels onto already flawed, corner-cutting systems just to do some quick damage control. That Band-Aid approach usually fails entirely, because once the AI has made a decision, if the core architecture is a black box, even the original creators can't debug why it made that decision. This new definition completely flips that paradigm on its head. Accountability has to be the foundation, the very bedrock of the code, not just some policy patched on at the very end.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a practical working system. Codata lays this out in 3 distinct pillars. First up, data requires fully traceable origins. I mean, we wouldn't eat food without knowing the ingredients or where it was grown, right? So we definitely shouldn't consume information diets without knowing exactly where the data came from. Second, contributions must have verified authors. The humans feeding the system have to be known, which means their real, actual reputation is at stake. They are accountable for what they provide. And third, that accountability is structurally embedded in the architecture from day one. When you combine perfectly traceable data with verified authors, you create the ultimate transparent system. You're essentially taking the black box and totally replacing it with a glass house. Let's jump to our final section, Section 5, the end of blind trust, shifting the paradigm.
So, the crucial point here is that when you fundamentally change that architecture, you completely change the relationship between humans and artificial intelligence. We are moving entirely away from blind trust. And let's be honest, blind trust is an outdated, frankly dangerous concept, where we treat AI like it's some kind of magic and just blindly hope that it's right. Instead, we're replacing that with earned confidence. An AI built on an accountable, transparent architecture doesn't ask for your blind faith. It earns your confidence through the precise, verifiable record it leaves behind. You don't have to trust it blindly anymore, because you have the power to verify the work yourself.
To wrap things up, I want to leave you with a provocative question to consider long after we finish today. Think about the tools you rely on right now, the platforms you interact with every single day. Does the AI you use daily earn your confidence through its transparent record, or does it demand your blind trust? Understanding the architecture of accountability empowers us to demand better, more rigorously transparent technology in our lives. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep asking those hard questions, keep looking deeply at the architecture, and whatever you do, never stop demanding to see the record.